Here we go. Speaking of Crystal Lake, Ryo cannot be replaced, unfortunately. So the vocalist of Crystal Lake has left. For those that don't know, this is brand new news. He had the perfect voice for the band and is regarded as one of the best metal vocalists. It's going to be really hard to fill that role, as much as I love Crystal Lake and want Ryo to get the help he needs because he's one of the best. That is such terrible news. So Ryo, I will agree, is one of the best metal vocalists at the moment. I think I mentioned that in a video too. His vocals are insane, and that's why so many people want him as a feature in so many songs. But obviously, you know, he's going through some mental health, so it sucks, but you know, the band has to do what they got to do. And like, there's so many talented vocalists out there that just haven't had the time or found the way to market themselves, right? There's tons of kids, there's tons of people out there that we don't know about. Fuck, look at Will Ramos, right? No one really was paying attention to him. Like Awakened Providence was somewhat of a smaller deathcore band. No one really knew who he was. Boom, gets onto Lawrence Shore. Now he's like a fucking household name in the scene. The same thing can happen to Crystal Lake. They can find someone with maybe a different kind of style, something that's a little bit unique. I think a lot of it comes into luck. But Crystal Lake is such a big name. This is such big news into the scene that I'm sure they're going to get hit up by a lot of people. But I have faith that the band will find someone good. All right, time for my real spicy take. Literally everything is more talented than Blink-182, and my opinion on that has remained unchanged for over 20 years. Guys, sound off in the chat. No, agreed. Oh, it's going to be polarizing. Always, I know. So yeah, it's a very, very simple song. Sometimes simple really sells. These guys, a big reason why they blew up is because of their personalities too. Although like the tone of their vocals are so unique. That's another thing. They don't really have the best voices, but sometimes like, I don't know, you don't need the best vocalist in terms of range and everything. You don't need an Adele all the fucking time. You need someone that just like, it's a relatable. Like a band that I really like is called Cake, and their vocals are kind of like monotone. He's going the distance. He's going for speed. But the point is, Blink-182 is accessible. The melodies are extremely easy, but it's those melodies that are like, fuck, I wish I wrote that. But another reason why these guys are as big as they are is because, like I said, they have personality. They have a certain style. They were also, timing is important. They were at the right time with pop punk and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and all these other things. They were at the top, really, of the food chain of the scene. Okay, look. Literally everything is more talented than Blink-182. Literally everything? Literally everything. So you're saying Blink-182 is more talented than this? Make it stop. It's literal garbage. It is absolute garbage. Too many drugs. It's true, man. I feel like this is so much drugs that you think you're like on this like different dimension, but no, it's literal trash. If I was famous and I just started doing this, people would be like, oh, it's art. It's not fucking art, okay? So yeah, I disagree with the Blink-182 thing. I think Yoko Ono takes the cake for being the worst. She also broke up the Beatles too on top of it. I still don't understand the overall appeal of Parkway Drive. I'm not even talking about them now, but their first like 3 albums. I know that people consider them one of the forerunners of late 2000s metalcore, but to me, they didn't do anything groundbreaking at the time, and they definitely for sure didn't age like fine wine. Francesca, super nice girl. To give out a hot take like that, I find is very, very spicy. So give me 1 second. I agree. But Parkway Drive fans, I'm sorry. Let me see when their music came around, because there was bands like August Burns Red, As Lay Dying, All That Remains, Unearth. 2004 was their first album. 2006, Horizons, the one that everyone talks about. Yeah, 2009. So yeah, there was a lot of metalcore bands like in 2007, 2005 and stuff that were kind of like doing the stuff beforehand. I went back and I did an album reaction to Horizons, and yeah, dude, I cannot get into that record. So that's how I kind of see it. I think Parkway Drive is a gateway band. I personally can't get into it. Okay, so I kind of ramble since this was taken from a live stream, but to put my thoughts into a concise manner, I see the value of Parkway Drive and respect people who love them. For me personally, I can never find their appeal, and that's because of how I got into the metalcore scene. I was already introduced to metalcore through like, August Burns Red, All That Remains, and then began to fall in love with bands like Dillinger Escape Plan and Between Them Buried to Me, etc. So I started to really like the intense, mathy, crazy stuff, and when I heard Parkway, I just found their music pretty accessible. So I kind of see them as a gateway metalcore band, and I think that's actually really special. That's something that's actually really good. But I just could never get into them, and I will always respect the band and people who enjoy them. They're just a band that's not really for me personally. Killer says Ithaca, They Fear Us over Spiritbox, Eternal Blue. This is an interesting one, man, because Ithaca, They Fear Us dropped this album only a couple months ago. It's going to be in my top 5, probably top 5 best albums of the year. It's so fucking good, dude. Spiritbox, Eternal Blue didn't even make it into my top 10 last year, but everyone knows I love Spiritbox. I'm a big Spiritbox stan. The thing is that what makes this a little bit more conflicting for me is that Spiritbox, Eternal Blue has Holy Roller. I think is one of the best modern metal songs. I don't know, this song is a fucking 10 out of 10, just so much replay value. I'm still not sick of it. But yeah, everyone's heard it a bunch. And also the new album has Constance. I think Constance is one of the most beautiful soft tracks from a metal band too. Spiritbox has some bangers on Eternal Blue, but as a record, I actually have been jamming out to Ithaca so much more than Eternal Blue. So I do agree with Killers here. And then when it goes into the breakdown, instead of doing harsh vocals, it goes into like a shoegaze moment. So yeah, that's Ithaca. This album's fucking nuts. Wage War is the best modern day metalcore band. I'm just going to sip on my coffee here. Yeah, I do not agree with this at all. But also, I can't say who replaces this. Like, who can I say is better? Like, I can say Spiritbox, Ithaca. There's a bunch of bands, but it's all opinion based. But I think Wage War has 1 million listeners. So commercially, Wage War knows what they're doing. They're very accessible. They got great cleans. They got great guitar work. Their breakdowns do go hard. They're a fun time. I don't think Wage War is a bad band. And I think after hearing their new album Manic has really changed my opinion about them. But are they the best? Yeah, I straight up just do not agree with this opinion. But I can't really say like, oh, you're wrong, because it's more just a personal opinion. Someone just thinks they're the best. I just don't think they're the best, but I don't know who else is the best. I can just say this band, but it's not factual. Well, none of this is really factual anyway to begin with. It's all subjective. Who gives a shit? Guys, let's move on to the next opinion. Electric Callboy songs all sound the same. Spiritbox is okay, not amazing. Darko is better than Chelsea Grin and Spite. Love your videos, man. Well, maybe he's wrong about loving my videos. Maybe they're garbage. Maybe that's the hot take. Electric Callboy songs all sound the same. This was one of my biggest issues with their singles. Spaceman by Electric Callboy. I did not care for that song. And after even listening to the album Techno, it's still the same. And a lot of their rhythms do use the same rhythms, like kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. They abuse that big time. So that's one thing I noticed on the album, where a lot of their rhythm patterns were very samey for sure. However, their music is more meant to be dancey, and I think that's why that rhythm works so well. I think the new album is actually pretty sick. I like techno. I had no cons with it. I think we need some fun metalcore. And I think Electric Callboy scratches that urge, because metalcore is so serious all the time. Electric Callboy is just fun. Although, do their songs sound all the same? After hearing the new album, I can actually say no, not really. They actually had a decent amount of variety on the new album. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I think Spaceman is pretty samey too. We Got the Moves, and I do hear a lot of the same rhythms, but each song has a different identity. So yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that anymore. I once did, but let's go back to Spiritbox is okay. A lot of people agree with this. A lot of people think Spiritbox is just okay. You know what? Spiritbox started off as prog metalcore. So this song, Mara Effect, is 3 pieces. Dude, old Spiritbox fucking hit. I don't know. It just felt like professional, especially for a new band that was coming up. So that's why I was like jumping on reactions all the time. Like I knew there was something special about this band. I love the sound of it. I love the technicality. Then they started to get a little bit more commercial with their music. I understand though. And they're really blowing up because of it. They're still being somewhat experimental, like stuff off Eternal Blue. It's creative. It's not so cookie cutter. Their structure's definitely got a lot more cookie cutter because a lot easier to follow. Sunkiller. I think that's a really cool. I think this is a really cool track. Oh, very like Evanescence kind of core. You know what? Like I said, Eternal Blue didn't make it into my top 10 albums of 2021. But their EP, Rotoscope, shows that the band is continuing to experiment with their sound. But the sound of this band is so hard to replicate. Courtney is such a distinct vocalist in terms of sound that I know some people can't find the appeal to it, but a lot of people are. I think Spiritbox is great, but I do see a lot of people thinking they're just okay. And I think it's a lot of metalheads that, you know, appreciate the more technical stuff. And that's where Spiritbox kind of originated from, is the point that I'm trying to make. The old stuff like Mara Effect and Bleach Bath were fucking intense. And I do miss that era of Spiritbox, but I totally understand the new direction where they're going. So that's why I enjoy both sides to the band. Let's move on to the next take. Okay, totally forgot the last take here, but Darko is better than Chelsea, Grin, and Spite. And I agree with this sentiment. That's not to undermine Chelsea, Grin, and Spite. I think they're both amazing bands. Just Darko is something special. It's one of those bands that no one else can imitate because they're so distinct in tone. They're distinct in style too. Their music videos are unlike anybody else in the scene. I think they're a very, very special band. Oh yeah, here's another hot take. Unholy Confessions is a shit song, sounds sloppy as fuck, and not in a raw way. Who agrees with this? So for context, the dude is, he's a young guy. I think he's like 18 years old or something. So he's a young guy. So I can see people like seeing this as like more like dad metal, you know? It's stuff that we grew up with. So maybe he's onto something. Maybe it is cheesy, but it's funny how much the scene has evolved, right? In terms of technicality and melodies and everything. Unholy Confessions is so simplistic that I think most of us who are like, you know, maybe in our 30s and stuff, like me, I grew up like playing this song on guitar with a bunch of friends and stuff. This was the go-to like band practice song. Like I know so many people who just jam Unholy Confessions. It's accessible, it's fun, there's a lot of memorable riffs, there's a lot of memorable sections. And the thing is, it's not cookie cutter too. It doesn't follow a typical structure. Like breakdown already in the first verse. Sinister Gates is one of the best guitarists in the scene. I don't even know if he really is in this scene anymore, but you know what I mean, right? I'm trying to understand, like, I don't agree with him. I can see people not, I can see the younger generation not liking it, you know? She said that you walked away, try not to lose you. So maybe if he was talking about this version, I would totally agree. With every love to change, yeah, if he was talking about this version, I would agree with him. But no, the regular Unholy Confessions is a fucking classic, bro. The new wave of emo rap and MGK pop punk is not very interesting or enjoyable. Guys, what do you think? When it comes to pop punk, I'm a little bit out of it, to be honest. I don't check out pop punk too much. I'll say pop punk is such a 2000s sound that anytime bands are replicating the sound today, it just sounds like they're doing it based off nostalgia factor. There's nothing really new. There's no new sounds within it. MGK just sounds like a Paramore song and stuff, like, I don't know, some of their stuff. Even, I think Demi Lovato was doing some pop punk, and it wasn't, I don't know, it just felt more like stuff that we heard back in the day. Like, it's really cool. It's capturing that old sound that we grew up as kids, but it's not reinventing the wheel by any means. So I think that's the reason why I don't find it very interesting or enjoyable. So yeah, I agree with this, actually. And also, like, the MGK, I know he's extremely hated. I have some mixed opinions on him because I've seen him play guitar and it's pretty bad, and he thinks he's like so cool at it. But musically, like, the songs are fine. The MGK songs that I've heard are fine. I don't think they're as cringy as people make it out to be. But mind you, I feel like he's more of an industry plant. MGK, I feel like the music, there's so many people writing his music. Okay, before I talk all this shit, who actually writes his music? Because if he actually writes up a lot of his music, then okay, I'll take back what I said. So this is Maybe. So he's got a full band, additional personnel. Look at this. Look at all those fucking people. Can you see that? Can you see that shit? Look at all that people. This fucking 12 extra people wrote that simple bare bones song, dude. Come on, come on. Yeah, just goes to show Machine Gun Kelly's like an industry plant in this. Yeah, I think a lot of modern pop punk is pretty meh. That's why I don't do videos around it. I don't see the appeal to it too much. So I agree with this opinion too. I know your opinion on this, METALBIRB, so that makes me even more inclined to stir the pots. Lol. The Path by Fit for a King is not actually that bad of a record. It did not deserve the amount of hate I got. The Path, did it deserve all the hate? I don't think it's a great record. I don't think it's a bad record. Like, I don't think it's bad music. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think like if I hear it live, I'll jam out to it. But there's so much other music out there that just like, I don't know, kind of crushes it in my opinion, especially like when The Path came out, that I'm like, no, this is kind of a pass. I'll rather spend my time listening to these artists a little bit more. I'll rather spend my time listening to Bring Me the Horizon and what they did. I think The Path is obviously a lot of people felt the same way. And that's why with their newest record, they're going back to heavy. They're showcasing much more variety within their singles. They're just getting better. The Path wasn't terrible, but like what I was just saying, that they're following the Bring Me the Horizon approach just like so many other bands, and they just couldn't do it as well. A lot of people could feel it and hear it too. A lot of people were just like, oh no, this sounds like a hollowed version of the band that we used to listen to. Also sounds like what Bring the Horizon was trying to do, but just not as good. I think a lot of people felt that same way. A lot of people can still vibe out to it. Like I said, there's some songs that are fine, but I think criticism is valuable. A lot of people did not like that record. Okay, I feel like my thoughts are all over the place again, so I'm going to elaborate and put my thoughts into a concise manner. But do I think The Path is a bad album? No. Do I think The Path is a good album? No, I think it's quite average, and that's mainly just because it's like, you know, butt rock. And there's a reason why this music is called butt rock. It's there to, you know, sell arena shows and get radio airplays. And so it's very accessible music. But if, you know, Dark Skies wasn't a thing in their previous material, then The Path wouldn't be as negatively received, you know, because the fans already had some quality music from these guys. And for them to really kind of just go into more generic songwriting approach with verse, chorus, breakdown, chorus, and very simplistic riffs and everything, and just very in-your-face hooks. There's a lot of just average ideas into The Path, and it wasn't very creative. It was there to broaden their audience, and it worked. They got a lot more stream plays, and they got into bigger shows. However, I think a lot of the fans were just kind of missing the creativity, a lot of the heaviness, and the more emotional side to the band, which we're getting from the new single. So excited for the new album. But The Path is just an okay album. And for it to get that much hate, well, it's just criticism, and criticism is extremely valuable. Obviously, fans were not very pleased with the new direction. And so for them to go back to their old roots and even refine on their sound is really cool. So I hope that this new album gives them more success than The Path ever did. On to the last part of the stream, which is a reaction. Let's just let's check out the new Polyphia song. It literally just came out.